everyone. My name is Nina Camplin and I'm the arts facilitator for the VC Gallery for our online workshop. Today I'm looking at this chapel at St Non's, and I've got to say we went there with a trip with the National Parks a couple of years ago with the VC Gallery, and it was a miserable rainy day, so this photograph that I took hasn't got a lot of light source coming in because we literally couldn't see more than about 100 feet in front of us from when we were here. It was very, very foggy. But after I decided to do this, I read about the history of St Non's, and I've got to say it reads better than an episode of EastEnders. So whoever said history is boring. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this chapel. First of all, this isn't the original. This is now called, I think it's the St Non Lady of St Non's or something like that. So this was built afterwards. So the original St Non's chapel is a bit down. It's kind of in the next field along from this, and it's now a ruin. Now, the story of St Non is quite a drama in itself. She was originally a nun. She was known as Nona or Nonita, and she was born in 475 AD. She lived at a nun in Tygwyn near Whitestands Bay, and until she was raped by a prince and became pregnant. A preacher found himself unable to preach in the presence of her unborn child, and this was taken as a sign that the child himself would be a great preacher. So after that, a local ruler then learned of the pregnancy and feared the power of this unborn child. So he plotted to kill the baby as soon as it was born. And on the day that she went into labour, there was a huge storm, and it made it impossible for anyone to travel outdoors. Where she gave birth, it was the only place apparently that was bathed in light. She gave birth to a boy who then became St David, the patron saint of Wales, and a church was built in the place of his birth, and that was the original chapel. And that's now a ruin. It's near St David's, obviously, in Pembrokeshire, and it's the most westerly chapel in Wales, and also one of the smallest. So this is the one I'm looking at today. It is quite tiny as well. It's quite a nice little chapel. So I'm going to look at doing this in watercolour today. Now, because my easel is vertical, this might be a bit difficult to do on a vertical board. So I don't know if you can see that I've roughly drawn out a guide for myself. And what I'm going to do, first of all, because I am doing it in watercolour and because it's vertical, I'm going to turn this upside down to do the sky, so that where it runs, I will get the strongest paint coming up to the top, because I want to keep it quite pale around the horizon line. Now, usually when I work in watercolours, I tend to work very wet and wet, but I can't do that so much today, so I'm going to try and work with the watercolour quite dry. That's where I'm going to put a lemon yellow in around the horizon line. And then I'm going to go into, I think it's cobalt blue. You can see this is all running downwards. Right, so I've got some bushes and some distant hills in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lemon yellow in for a base for that. And I think I might just bring it round for a base for the grass as well. So I've got a background down. Now I'm going to put some base colours down on the actual building. Now I don't want to go down with just a boring old grey, so in my time-lapse video I decided to go in with a bit slightly more vibrant colours. So also I decided that although this has got very subdued lighting over the whole thing, there's no real light source, it looks very slightly lighter on this side, so I want to exaggerate that a bit more and make the light source come from this direction. So this is going to be darker and this is going to be lighter here, and I think I'm going to go for we used a violet colour for this face here. And then on this roof, I'm going to use the blue again. Looks like it's slate tiles, so it's going to be quite grey. I want it to be quite light, so it's reflecting the light from the sky. And then on this face of the building, I'm going to go into an ochre colour. Got some nice base colours there. Oh, and the roof, turret, whatever it's called. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to build up this foliage behind the that goes behind the chapel, and I'm going to use a sea sponge for this. So I'm using sap green to start with, and I'm just going to sponge this on. And then I want to make it quite dark around the back of the chapel, so I'm going to use this some burnt umber with it. And while I've got this on my sponge, I'm just going to start sweeping in some horizontal marks for the grass in front. You've noticed that I've left the area behind the back of the bench white. That's because it's hard to put light on dark with watercolour. So I'm trying to keep all the light areas light. There's a very light strip on the roof here as well, so I've left that white as well. I'm going to use a little bit of ochre in this glass too, and a little bit of burnt umber. Starting to give it a bit of depth. And I'm going to start, just while I've got this on the brush, this burnt umber and ochre colour, and start putting some indication of some brickwork in the building. It's starting to look a bit more like a stone building. Go back to the brush now. We've got quite a dark line at the back of this roof. The windows are quite dark, and then we've got the detail along the edge of this roof underneath this stonework here, and obviously the windows and the doors are very dark. So I'm just going to start putting those in now. I'm going to use a burnt umber with ultramarine. So I've got quite a dark colour here. You can see I've mixed. And then there's parts of this bench. I'm starting to get a bit more of a detail on it now. I'm going to go along this line here too. Oh, it's too thick, I think. I'm just going to run a bit of clean water along it to draw it out a bit. Just going to start putting in some more indication of the brickwork or the stonework. I'm just using a mix of colours that are on my palette now. And what I'm trying to do is follow the vanishing points for the perspective, so that it kind of follows in the same lines. They're not really in brick lines as such, but they kind of all go down to that kind of direction. And we've got quite a dark area where the step is in front of the entrance. I think these are stained glass windows here, but you can't really see them very well. I'm just going to put in blue for that. So I need to put a colour on this bench. I think I'm going to make it a bit more sienna, very pale. I need to put in the doorway that you can see where that door is. It's really dark inside there. I'm going to use Payne's Grey. So I could keep working this up and maybe put more detail into it, but I think it's looking quite nice like this. I want to change this contrast between this wall and this wall, so I'm going to darken this one up a little bit. This is burnt umber and ultramarine. Just need to put these the back struts in on this bench. I feel that this foliage behind here needs darkening up a bit. Use a sponge again. I'm going dark here. Really makes this wall pop forward a bit more. Do the same on the other side. So I could carry on with this for quite a while. I'm going to leave it at that. And what I will do actually before I go, I'm not overly happy with these backgrounds that I've got in the sky here. That looks better. A nice soft sky now. Thank you for joining me everyone today, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!